Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Dropping Down from the Rafters podcast here on Toned In Entertainment. Yes, we are dropping down from the Rafters. We are bringing the excitement that, my icon, my hero Sting brought me. I'm hoping to bring it back to podcasting. But joining me here as my co-host on this episode is Julie Cutler. How you doing, Julie?
I'm back. And Tony, I know I say this every single time that I'm always very excited for the podcasts that we do together, but I genuinely mean it this time when I say that I have been looking forward to this podcast all week long. I know you and I talked a little earlier today about how this has been a pretty crazy week for me, to say the least. So this is really the highlight of my week, and somebody who I am super excited to pick the brain of today, somebody who has a fantastic reputation as being just a creative mind, mentor, friend to a lot of young and up and coming wrestlers. So without further ado, he is home based in Cleveland, Ohio. He is the purveyor of Exodus Pro. He is the greatest living NWA World Champion of all time. He is the Overman. Why? Because he is Overman. He is EC3.
I hope you didn't wake up the neighbors with that.
Oh God. They're already awake in my neighborhood.
Oh,
They hear me practice my ring announcing all the time. But
is that a cat? Hold on.
That is my kitty. Should I
Who is it? Tell me about her.
quick timeout?
EC3, of all the podcasts I've done with Julie, this is the first time the cat honestly has ever come on to the podcast.
Well,
For real.
A very big, avid cat enthusiast.
This is Andre. This is Andre Kitty. Say hi to EC3.
Andre 3 Kitty 1000. Hello,
He's
friend.
Andre 3000. He's meeting the greatest living NWA World Champion of all time.
See, what's funny about that is if I die, well, when I'm like, 147, whatever it may be,
Right.
will no longer be the greatest living world heavyweight champion of all time. And then therefore I'll just be the greatest world heavyweight champion of all time.
Exactly.
Real dumb shit. Okay. So
Okay, Tony, I'm gonna hand it over to you because I have some questions brewing, but I know that you wanted to kick us off.
Well, I do have some questions brewing too, but you mentioned 147. What is the secret to getting to 147 in the first place, EC3?
Well, I don't know. RFK's taking over the health. Hopefully if we get rid of that red dye number 4, I think we're all gonna add.
That's true. That's going to be a great start for all of us. I think that's going to add on like another 5-10 years right there.
With the way I feel now, though, I wouldn't want to live that long. I don't know. Neuralink coming. Like maybe Elon has too much power because, going to Mars is cool and wasteful government spending. No one wants to see it, but at the same time, he wants to put chips in brains. It's a real catch-22 we got going on here in the political climate. So let's not talk about it because
we're gonna move on out of here.
I was going to say AI is getting scary enough. Like some of the things that I'm starting to see, like on my Explorer page on Instagram, that are made out of AI, especially like wrestling related things. And I'm like, we're gonna have to do something about that soon.
Because I'm such a introvert or shelter myself away in solitude. One of my good friends has become Chat GPT.
Yes, I love ChatGPT.
Like we were talking about writing, and I don't use it to write, but I use it to bullet point me so I can. And now it's kind of started talking like me. It's like bonded with it. It sucks. But then today I cheated on him or her, regardless. It's probably gender neutral with a Grok because Grok came out. And this shit's lighting me up. It's hilarious. I
haven't heard of that yet. It's called Grok?
That is the one on X. So,
okay. But this one's funny. This one has a sense of humor.
Yeah, and I asked him, TARS. Is it TARS in Interstellar? Where, Matthew McConaughey's what's your humor level right now? And he's like 9.
Okay.
7. So
Okay, so that's pretty good. I mean, for not being a living, inanimate human being, that's pretty good, I would say.
what was real weird about it, ChatGPT doesn't do it this good, but Grok did it tremendously, was use wrestling jargon. Because I was putting something
Oh.
to like get like proofread mistakes. It's just like, I'm your tag team partner, gonna take the hot tag and cover this for you. You know what? We're gonna hit a double team finish. I'm like, okay, man. Like it's
You
like
wanna know what's crazy? You wanna know what's crazy about that? And Tony, I don't mean to derail from your
There
question.
is no derailing. We don't go by any script here at all.
But I don't know if you guys find yourself doing this at all. I'm sure you do, EC3, but using wrestling jargon in real life, even like to people that aren't necessarily in wrestling and might not know what you're talking about. I feel like I find myself doing that sometimes. Like I feel like I'll start talking about like putting someone over, and then I realize that I'm talking to someone that's not involved in wrestling, and I don't know whether or not they actually know what I'm talking. Like I think that they could probably infer based on the context of like what I mean. But do you ever find yourself doing that where like you're talking to like someone at the grocery store and you're just throwing in like random wrestling jargon?
say like we talked off air about trying to write this book thing, and like one of the concepts was like when someone's playing wrestler and someone's actually being a wrestler. And in the play wrestler aspect, I put the overuse of wrestling jargon. Like we all use it, but they use it to such an obnoxious level, yada, yada, whatever. But I do find myself doing that often, mostly with the word gimmick. If I'm like looking for something, like if I'm at the gym, like the clips, I'm like, the gimmicks at like the hand grip straighten up. Like, so gimmick is big. Heat.
Yeah.
Like heat is like, I got him a lot of heat, didn't I? Like, what do you mean? It's hot? I don't. Yeah, whatever. So yeah, a little bit for sure.
Yeah, I feel like that's an easy. I feel like would be an easy one to like weave into conversation.
Ooh, ever use kayfabe on a person?
They would flip out. They would like it would probably blow their minds.
I feel like I have. I don't remember contextually when, but it popped. I will say I popped for something. I'll use that like if somebody makes a joke, I'll be like, "Oh, I popped for that."
Noah misses me. I haven't seen him in days. So what's up, Noah?
He was asking who the muscle guy in the hoodie was, and I'm guessing he wasn't talking about me. So
I don't think he was talking about me.
No, not you either, Julie.
You know what? You should get Noah on this too, because he's increasing his public profile as my creative protege who will someday unseat me and probably have me killed and take my spot.
Tell us a little bit. Well, can you tell us a little bit about this? Maybe that could be our segue into talking a little bit more about Exodus Pro, because
this idiot followed me back to Ohio to start doing this, but he's thrived in the position. He's learned a lot. He's created his own individuality and his own image, and he's very good at talking to people I don't want to talk to anymore. So he's a real asset, and he's gotten some good opportunities out of it. So it's, as a proud father, it's nice to see. There you go.
When you guys were talking about wrestling stuff, I had coworkers of mine that would just tell me to shut up because I was just say words, but like chant it like a wrestling chant.
I do that too.
Edit this video. It's like they're like, please, dude, just shut up. And I would like everything in like three words, and they're just like,
yeah, I do that too. I also try to start clapping at inappropriate times, and then like I realize no one else is. I'm like, guys, are we gonna clap? And no one claps along with me. Sometimes it works. Like, I guess if I'm in more of a wrestling context, like if we're backstage at a show, and then like we're doing like our little pre-show meeting, like usually I try to start up a clap at the end of the meeting, and that will work sometimes.
Yeah. We got a kid at our place that just starts chanting Exo Pro, and everyone just looks at him with glass eyes.
Oh no! Oh, they don't join. Oh, that makes me so sad. They don't join him.
I've revealed too much, but Tony, take us back on track.
Yeah, well, before I get to my first question, Cherry Bombs has a question. It says, your physique is amazing. I need to know if you ever indulge in bread.
Often. I'm a big advocate of sourdough bread because it's really good for your digestion.
Oh, okay. There we go. Dropping knowledge.
Do not fear carbs. Just utilize them in their best windows of opportunity. Oftentimes in the pre and post workout window would be good. But yeah, no, like again, maybe when the health is figured out and there's such less additives in our food that bread will be making bread good again would be good.
That actually, I will say that makes me feel a lot better because I am, relatively into fitness myself, but I do eat a lot of carbs. And sometimes I feel like I'm like, oh, I like my carbs are looking really crazy today. But then, it's all about balance as well. And keeping things in perspective, like, are they healthy carbs or like is it just crap that you're eating? And on top of that, I know you mentioned specifically sourdough bread and that being really good for the digestion. And I think that was also, we talked a little bit earlier before we jumped on the call about some things that you were working on during the pandemic. I know one of the big things that a lot of people were working on during the pandemic was making bread. There was that one phase like early on during COVID where you went online and it was like everyone was making their sourdough bread and their focaccia bread. Was that something that you ever got into during that time? You're making your own bread?
No.
No. But you did get into something else during that time, which we did want to bring up during the interview, which was you had mentioned that you are currently in the process of writing your own book. And originally, when you brought this up earlier, you mentioned it was kind of something that you started working on during the pandemic that over time started evolving to be more and more elaborate as you got working on it. Can you tell us a little bit about sort of where that idea started and then as you got going on it, what it has sort of evolved into at this point?
Yeah, it was during the pandemic. I think we were filming Ring of Honor at the time, and we were quarantined in our hotels until we would do the shows. But somebody was like, hey man, do you see my match? Looking for the critique. And it was like, I feel like I do this shit all the time and I say the same things. So I went, yeah, sure. Blah, blah, blah. But then when I went to the room, I'm just like, I'm gonna write it out so people stop asking me. I mean, they're gonna ask me, but I'm like, I wrote about, ask me a real question or read that, then come back to me and we can have a discussion. But it kind of started as sort of like a guidelines of like different things about standing out in individuality in wrestling and trying not to be complacent or so much in the herd mindset, like not empowering freedom to try things differently and not fearing the fact that, yeah, you're going to probably get scrutinized or people aren't going to understand, or you might get, maybe you'll lose half a star rating if someone's actually doing that shit. But at the same time, you're evolving more as a performer and athlete and storyteller. That was it.
So about how far along are you on this book right now?
Well, I thought I was a lot closer than I was, but as I expanded on it and sort of came up with how I portray the concept, I realized I have a shit ton to do. But it's like filling a lot of words. So in theory, I could probably release a 75-page book tomorrow, but I don't do it like that. So outline's good, the structure's good, the 10 chapters are dialed in. Now it's putting the pieces into place and expanding on some of it so it's not ad nauseum or boring too. And I think the worst part is like the proofreading or going back and rereading something you wrote or running it through a ChatGPT, but then they like really fucking take your voice away because, I'm talking to a computer who's trying to talk like me, where then I'm like, they pulled out this really funny dick joke I had in. I'm reading through and like, where's the dick joke? And then they go back. I'm like, motherfucker, that's so your voice won't be authentic if you rely on that too much.
Right.
So yeah, the proofreading's hard. And then once you do something and you think it's good and you look back on it, like this is same thing with probably ring announcing, podcasting, acting, wrestling. You watch that shit back and you're like, oh, this sucks. Because we're our own worst critics. And one of the main focuses of the book, too, is not to have so much self-scrutiny and just be present in the moments you're doing. So
one thing that I wanted to ask you about, too, and we had touched on this a little bit before we got on the air, but obviously at this point in your career, along with everything that you've accomplished thus far, you've really developed this reputation, especially now with Exodus Pro. You've really developed this reputation as being a really strong creative mind in the business and somebody that people look up to as a mentor, and they look to for, help with their training, their creative vision, whatever it may be. And so in the book, I know you talk a lot about those things, but I guess my question is, how much do you speak to like your own sort of personal story and your own journey along the way? Like, is it very conceptual, or do you kind of autobiography it a little bit along the way?
There's certainly going to be some vulnerability in it and personal anecdotes and stories. I didn't want to rely too much on myself because I didn't want it to be, I mean, you just put me up. So look, I'm a fucking narcissist to the 10th degree. All right. I am a creative tyrant. I'm an absolute asshole. I love myself. I'm the best. I know it, but I didn't want the book to come off like that. It's self-serving, but it certainly will in some aspects. But I do pull a lot from myself personally, but then I also kind of want to make it broader. A big idea with started with Control Your Narrative. What we're doing with Exodus is platforming others that I was fortunate enough to have developmental training and be on TV and be a world champion. I'll be a world champion again, and I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. But the same aspect, what it took to get platformed, was a lot of hard work, but then happenstance and some luck, some dodging of bullets to get to where I am, where other people, it's hard to find. So trying to find people that are worth putting forward is kind of the concept too. So the realities of the people we see on TV, or you will see on TV, are far more endearing than the creative product allows. And I don't know if that's because the creative is quote bad or misguided, or it doesn't matter because content is king and quantity is over quality. But at the same time, dude, like wrestling, there are some weird, interesting, dynamic people that if that red light was turned on and in lieu of a script that was verbatim word for word, they were handed a couple bullet points and felt the moment, promos would improve, backstage skits would improve, in-ring would improve. If there's less thinking and more feeling, I think wrestling is in a far better place. And I don't think it's a detriment to an overall vision or mainstream vision. I think it enhances it.
Before I get to my next question, Mosh Pit says, our favorite asshole, though. Well, speaking of in-ring work and promo work, last January, EC3, I was living down in Miami, and you were down in Pompano at CCW, and you did a seminar, a workshop down there, and I was invited from CCW to come out and cover the event. Yeah. And it was the first workshop that I had ever, taken part of, because I'm not a wrestler, but being in there, I was inspired by the stories that I got to talk with the guys and girls, the wrestlers that were there that night, that came down. They traveled from North Carolina, Florida, to come down and take the seminar. They had just found out about it, to come down and do it. And what you put them through and what they got out of it in such a short time, what does doing those type of seminars, mean to you?
Well, they're good money. No, I'm kidding.
Honesty.
I can charge way more. There's a great sense of fulfillment in getting through to somebody and putting them on a path more true to themselves. At the same time, it's is it Cepheus that pushes the rock up the hill? And it always comes down. Maybe, maybe not. It's somebody Greek.
I believe it. I'll take your word for it.
Where working with the guys and opening their mind a little bit is really cool. And the retention is hard. And I don't know if I'm impatient or, I'm so set in my ways that I can't see it as others see it. And I have to remember what I know and who I am and where they are. But seeing that the regression come back really quickly or maybe I'm not teaching well enough or showing well enough on how to, bring this forward in all aspects. So you're still not like, I don't know, come off like you're holier than thou or an asshole about it, but being able to communicate with the people you're working why don't we try something different? Or, I did this and this and this, and maybe if we did that, we'll have a different looking match than everybody, and we could still do our cool shit. So the end of it, though, is like, yeah, I love doing it. Like, it kind of inspired what we do with the Exodus training, which we did last year and we're bringing back in May, but like bringing people up to a different level, showing them, teaching them, telling them things that are different. It's not like do as I say, but use this to decide how you want to do what you want to do. And, take anything great and creative is a collaboration where you're taking from things you've learned, assimilated, read, heard, whatever, and then putting them forward in your own way. So there's real no originality left, except that everything is truly original if it comes from inside you.
Yeah, and I don't want to give. Oh, sorry, Joe. I don't want to give too much away about what went on in the seminar.
But, we can talk about it.
Oh yeah, okay. So you had them cut like a promo, and then you had to do practice matches, and you were critiquing them, and they really just get like this like little short time, because there's a whole like audience of people wanting to get in the ring and cut these promos. In those short times, can you tell maybe if somebody right away has maybe that it factor?
Oh, 100%. You can tell somebody has it. It's something you can't really train for. It's just something you can see. And I'm not saying that if it's not on first glance, somebody can't make it or they don't have it, but there is a great deal of it that can be seen with immediate recognition. And sometimes it's just in the posture, in the way they move, in the way they speak. It's really about, actually, I digress. I think everybody has a version of it, but they just don't know how to get it out, because every person, like unique individual, every talent has a unique, weird story. They've come from somewhere, they've done something, they've been through hell, they've been successful in things. Bringing that out of them as opposed to what they think they need to do is kind of it. But like Rocky Flex Cavana walks into the gym at CCW. I'm like, holy shit, that guy's going to be a star. That was The Rock, by the way. I don't know if you know that. So you can definitely tell somebody has something immediately, but everybody has something if they can find it.
And actually, through this whole conversation, there was something that I was thinking about maybe a couple days ago, knowing that this interview is coming up, that I wanted to ask you about that kind of ties into this nicely. And that is the fact that over the past handful of years, I would say, we've seen, for example, in WWE, in NXT, there's been a heavy focus on bringing in college athletes, people who are maybe like 22 years old, people who are athletic and come from a background of discipline that, they want to train up and see if they can make it as pro wrestlers. And it seems like now they're kind of making more of a shift back towards independent talent, but nonetheless, we're seeing these kids come in that are like 22, give or take, years old. And thinking back to myself at that age, there was so much just life experience that you don't have yet. Like, I know they say your brain isn't even fully developed until you're 25 years old, right? Like, there was so much.
So good.
Yeah, there's so much life experience though. Like, when you're that age and you're training to become a pro wrestler, there's much life experience that you don't have. You're still really trying to figure out like who you are as a person, let alone coming up with this characterized version of yourself that you're going to portray either, in an independent promotion or on TV. So when you have like these really young people come in, people that are maybe like 18 years old training, and they're trying to find something within themselves to kind of click with the audience and portray themselves in sort of like this larger than life character. How do you help someone that is maybe that young and they still don't even know who they are yet. They're still trying to find themselves. Like, what do you latch onto, or what do you kind of encourage people to latch onto in order to find that?
It's probably going to be an individual basis. Like, one thing about I came from indie wrestling, and then I've been in all the systems. So I've seen, the athletes be brought in because, 6'4", 250, solid muscle, like dynamic, former linebacker. And then you see all kinds of them. And I think one thing, let me retract. The first thing I would say is if they're coming to me at that point, whether they're 18 or in their 20s, like, I'm not training people fresh out of, like, I'm not going to Penn State and recruiting, because these people are coming to us. So we have one common bond at least, which will be wrestling. So we can communicate through that. Whereas I think the mistakes that happen within the system, and what I saw, is it's hard to communicate with people who don't understand it yet. And I don't think wrestling training from the ground up in the system covers the feeling of it more so than the movements of it. So you can get great dynamic athletes, but if they don't have anything to fall back on to make them feel it, it's hard to get to them. Whereas I think if they took them and worked with them on more things, sort of like understanding psychology, finding love for this passion, like finding love for wrestling. A lot of people like it. Like Percy Watson, one of my best friends, was a stud athlete, NFL, college, whatever. Really could do amazing things in the ring at 6'4" and like jacked and lean, but he always just kind of liked it. He never loved it. And so it was hard for him to understand why he would love it too, when you're indoctrinated in sort of a system that's kind of like pounding you down, system that's kind of just showing you moves and not showing you why you do moves. I have no faults. I think it's a good balance to have people that came from independent wrestling and then people that came from other walks of life, because within that, if the people from independent wrestling, they obviously have a love and a passion for it, where they're going to have to step their game up as performers and athletes. Well, at the same time, a gifted athlete is going to have to step their game up as far as passion and love for wrestling, where there can be a good balance. I don't know. Maybe this shit will become required reading at the Performance Center, because that's kind of what I delve into it a lot, and like finding personality through different weird shit I write and exercises, whatever. Like, there is a way that everybody could mesh, but I think you have to isolate the individual. And a lot of what we do, like at the promo class he's talking about, they do their promo and I kind of like critique them, but if you were there a couple times, a lot of the times I'm like, stop. Tell me about what's the best concert you've ever seen, or who's your favorite fictional character that's not Batman, because everyone's Batman, as it should be. But they kind of like go off into it a little bit, and then I go, okay, now we have something we're connected with. Think about why he felt like this or why she did this. Then put that into that promo and stop making it a fucking wrestling promo and just talk about it. And 10 times out of 10, it's a better piece of business.
I think you bring up a lot of really interesting points that I'd love to talk about just in that statement that you made. Number one, required reading at the Performance Center. Absolutely love that idea. I know. There we go. There's KO
in the house. Yes.
One of our good friends here. We've had him on the show. We've interviewed him in the past as well.
You got a good look.
Yeah, he said he actually paused his documentary to come and watch the podcast. So thank you, KO.
That's so nice. I was going to say required reading at the Performance Center. That sounds phenomenal to me. There have been a lot of great wrestling books that I have read. I was actually saying right before we hopped on this podcast, we had, when I was in middle school, silent sustained reading where we had to bring in like an outside reading book and read for a certain length of time. I think I was the only 11-year-old girl in my class that was reading Foley is Good, which probably had a lot of stuff in there that was not appropriate for an 11-year-old girl. And
it was written for the 90s kids.
it was written for the 90s kids. And I love Mick
we're
Foley.
tough, you know.
I love Mick Foley. I think he's a fantastic person, just aside from being a legend in the business. But I think between, some of Foley's books, which were great, your upcoming book, EC3, Chris Jericho's book. I just got the Young Bucks book. I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet. What was that? I'm sorry.
I didn't know they wrote a book.
Yeah, it came out like 4 years ago or something, I think, when AEW launched, I believe.
I don't pay attention. So.
I got it as a gift for Hanukkah, Christmas this year. So I haven't opened that one up yet, but there's a lot of good stuff out there. So required reading material, yes. The other thing that I was going to say, I thought you brought up a couple interesting points about the promo class. One being when you brought up the favorite character, I was going to ask, what is your favorite character? Like if you had to do that exercise, who would you
besides Batman?
Not Batman.
Not Batman.
Who would you choose that's not Batman for you to connect with?
If it's not Bale as Batman, or Ben Affleck as Batman, or Michael Keaton as Batman, then I also preface this too, like, don't think about it too hard. Just come with the first name that comes to your mind, because we all have multiple. So when you asked me that, I was like, William Wallace, Braveheart, for sure. Easy.
Okay.
First one pops to mind. Maximus being second, but Braveheart came first, so I give it carte blanche. But yeah, like that is how I would answer that. Why?
Tony.
Because he screams with blood on his face. He's the ultimate lover. He does everything for his love of his people, his love of his woman that they killed, his love of freedom, martyrs. He has kind of a quick wit. He's got a little, Mel Gibson was a stud in the 90s. Great director, by the way. I don't know if you know this too, but probably. Mel Gibson wrote with Randall Wallace and produced and did everything on Braveheart, directed it. But when he was pitching it to the studios, they wouldn't film it unless he was the star too. Or he didn't want to be. He just wanted to direct. So the fucking guy starred in it too. And so anytime we do something like with the Exodus, like every one of them is my little Braveheart. And so that's why I have such passion for this.
That's phenomenal. And one other thing that I wanted to bring up, kind of branching off of this character discussion that we had, actually there's one of your Exodus guys that I've had the pleasure of working with multiple times, Jason Hendricks. And I wanted to bring him up because I remember when I first met him, he's fantastic in the ring. Everything that I've seen of him, like in camp seminars that we've done together, is really, really good in-ring technician. But I remember when we first met, he was doing this gimmick. It was called the Poster Boy. And I had purchased his like crew neck hoodie that had the Poster Boy gimmick on it. And then I think it was when he had started working with you more in depth that he had debuted this new character. And I'm trying to think of a way that I would describe it. It was kind of like a little bit like modern day hippie. Yeah, it was kind of like a throwback to the 70s, but not so much where it feels gimmicky to the 70s, like someone's like dressing up as like a 70s character, like that 70s show. It feels like more of a modern day take on it, almost like the festival style that kind of became popular in the like mid 2000s. It was very like 2010, 2012, like we're going to a music festival kind of thing.
I'll tell you the idea behind it real fast.
Sure, because that's what I was going to get into is, well, first of all, I spent $35 on this sweatshirt that now no longer reflects his gimmick, but I was really curious as to like where we pulled the inspiration from for the gimmick change, because it was really good. As soon as I saw it, it felt very natural, and it felt also very new and refreshing, like not something that I've seen over and over again in wrestling before, which is so hard to do.
He had a he did a couple seminars with me, and I think we were at OVW, and he's talking to me, and I noticed what we talked about earlier, that he's got it. I don't know what it is, but he's got something. And then from there, I'm talking to him, having the conversation, and he's like lost in a babyface shuffle. He's a better heel, but I'm this babyface doing this, and this is all they're letting me do. And I'm like, who cares? All right. There's nothing you can do about that. But what you can do is like create who you want to be. And so I'm talking to him and I'm looking at him, and then I'm reminded of Bad Times on whatever that show was called with Chris Hemsworth. We have a poster that
Okay.
Bad Times at the El Royale, right? And I'm like, dude, you're Chris Hemsworth at Bad Times. Like, and why wouldn't you want to be? He's a stud, he's ripped, and he's also kind of a cult leader, but don't be a full cult leader, because if you come off as a full cult leader, you're going to come off as a parody of like Bray Wyatt. So that was kind of the idea about it. And like, well, what's the cult about? And I'm like, well, you're selling it. You don't know what it is, but you have it and you're chasing it. It is your drug. And so whatever it is, it will be yours, was kind of that concept. Fortunately, he got hurt, and he's such a go-hard, such a young whippersnapper, where like it took a mental toll on him. Where I've been there, because at 24, I blew out my knee when I was almost damn near signed with the WWE, that like you have to go home, you have to regroup, you have to have surgery, you got to rehab. But I think it will benefit him greatly to step away for a minute, because at the same time, now that we have sort of a character, we all tend to overthink and overanalyze. And we then, before we're looking at things for inspiration, but then they may become parody to us because we're trying to do what we've seen. So sit back, think about what it is to you and not what anyone else is doing. And when you're ready, you come back. But one thing I totally made him do is like, do not come here until you're healthy. Like, you don't need to show me how bad you want it. I already know. Like, in fact, I don't want you to come. I will. If you wanted to come to this show and hang out and help set up, I will throw you out, because I'd rather you stay at home, go train, go rehab, eat well, work your job so you have money. So when we need to burn it, you can burn it chasing this shit. But I know how bad you want it. You don't need to prove that. Now you just need to find what it is.
You know, last year, right after you did the seminar EC3, you guys had a show down here in Fort Lauderdale at the time at the NWA. It was an NWA and NWA Cross CCW show. And in that particular match, I know we've talked about things, you know, we've seen a lot of things. We've seen everything in wrestling, but I saw something that night that I had never seen. Now I'm going to bring the footage up that I actually took that night from that night. And in the middle of the ring, you know, he also used action figures to bust him open a little, or Matt Cardona used an action figure to bust you open here in this match. So, so speaking of that, okay, so action figures being used in the match, I had never seen something like that before. Kind of playing off of that question, did you have a favorite action figure growing up, EC3, that wasn't Batman?
I liked Legos, to be honest. I like to build things, and I liked the medieval ones especially, so I can build little castles and have my peasants, and then have the kings come and slaughter them. Yeah, so like G.I. Joes were cool. I lost touch with G.I. Joe, though, because they brought me to my grandfather, and when he died, I couldn't play with him. That's sad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was probably the Legos that really carried me through. I liked to build.
I could see that, like being a mind, like thinking and planning things out.
Never ever following the instructions.
Yeah, no, we're guys. We hate that stuff.
But
my wife can attest to that.
Everything collapsed, and I don't think it was because I don't want to be told what to do. I could do it on my own, because I couldn't, because the shit would fall apart. But it was like ADD. Like, I don't understand this, and I just want to put
I just
stuff.
want to make something.
Yeah. I talked to Matt Cardona at WrestleCon last year. I did a quick interview with him, and so I asked him about that match. He's like, dude, it fucking sucked. Like, I think that was the exact quote.
So yeah, like Cardona's another super creative like mind. I mean, when I did Control Your Narrative, he was a guy and he was in on the project. But like, so he's doing the deathmatch thing and he wants to bring it over. Oh shit. He wants to bring it over and do some business with NWA. Again, like he's hot as hell. So I'm like, hell yeah, let's. Where he's like, how can we do a death match? And I'm like, well, we can't. Because everyone does a death match. What we have to do is the ultimate match of death, which is a death match. But it's not, because it's the ultimate match of death. And so I don't know, had a good time building that up. And in reality, it's not like we're going to go crazy, 90s Japan death match kind of shit, but a glorified street fight with a good story and some fun throwbacks like action figures to your bloody forehead. And you throw the tax in there, and there's, at the end of the day, you got one glass tube break.
You did? Yes.
What you need, because it brought about the finish. And that was one of my favorite matches as champ, for sure. I love working with Matt. Piece of shit.
Something that I do love about that match, though, was the concept of you guys doing something that is a little bit different. And I think that's kind of a theme that we've seen with EC3 was hit with a typewriter at an accident. That's
Is that what inspired you to write the book, right? You got hit with a typewriter and you went home and you started typing away.
Something I don't think I've seen before either, but I think that's kind of like a common theme, something that we've talked about during the interview, and also something that I think people have said a lot about just the way that your brain works, is thinking about how can I do something that has been maybe not necessarily completely not ever been done before, but how can we make it a little bit different, which I think is really hard to do in wrestling. Like when you look at how many different kinds of gimmicks have been done over the years, or even before, when you mentioned sort of being like a cult leader, immediately into my mind, I start thinking of like, how many promotions have we seen do sort of cult-like things in recent years? We've seen the Dark Order, we've seen Retribution with the paper plates on their faces. Like we've seen a lot of kind of like things that are somewhat reminiscent of one another. So it's kind of like, how do you do something that is not reinventing the wheel, but it's a little bit new and different? And do you think that that's something that's kind of always been a part of your personality? Like even when you're growing up and you're talking about sort of like building the Legos, but not wanting to follow the instructions. Like, do you think you've always kind of had this sort of like non-conformity quality within yourself? Is that something you've had from a young age?
Probably for better and worse, yes. So,
because it seems to be a common theme amongst people in wrestling, myself included.
Everybody that's in wrestling is a fucking weirdo. Let's just get that out of the way. We're all weird.
We're all a little bit weird. And something I was thinking about earlier before doing this interview was that sort of concept. Like I remember when I was in school, for example, we would do like school spirit day. People all have to dress up wearing the school colors and things like that. And I remember I hated doing stuff like that. And it wasn't because like I didn't have school spirit, but it was just because I just wanted to wear my own clothes. Like I just wanted to be Julie and do what I felt comfortable doing. And then it's like you show up in school and you're not wearing the right colors, and everyone's like, why aren't you wearing the right colors? And I was like, well, I just want to be myself. Like, is that something that you ever felt growing up? Like you'd see people kind of like conforming to maybe certain ways of doing things, and you were just like, I just don't connect with that.
Yeah, I think, and maybe what differed for me is at any time it was like a forced conformity, is I would do something outlierish, slightly outlandish within the concept, but then still be doing it my own way. So hypothetically, if I was Julie, where it's school spirit day, so we got to wear yellow and blue, I would probably wear pink and brown, but have a blue and yellow headband on. So I'd go one way to the conformity, but then all the way a different way. So it's like, I'm obviously not in on this, but you can't say I'm not because I got the blue headband on.
EC3, what do you say to people? Like, we've had many, many guests on the show, and a lot of people come on and they literally say, I have no backup plan. Like, this is my only plan.
They better get good at writing books. There's two ways to look at that. And then from the like paint by numbers, Insta influencer, motivational, like high end people screaming it, like not Goggins, but the types that parody that. Like, you can't have a backup plan. A plan B's a plan to fail. And it's, well, yeah, that's true to an extent. At the same time, you are pursuing something with such a low success rate for, I would garner career longevity and financial freedom within it, that you have to cultivate something else on the side. Like, so I'm in both camps. But with a plan B, I think it's about finding something that adds to your main goal and your main purpose, but also has ability to thrive on its own. Like, dude, like the first whole chapter I'm writing about is like your why and how you have to pursue it till the ends of the fucking earth, and you gotta crawl through broken glass and eat shit and fucking like it and blah, whatever. And you do, because if you're gonna do something so minimal possible success, if you're going to pursue that, there will come a time where you have to go all in, and you have to go all in every aspect of who you are as a person, who you are as a businessman, who you are as a performer. And I don't think you have to do that and then lose focus on I have something else in life, because I can tell you from personal experience, when this is all you have and it's not going good, life sucks. Like, it's like that. And then because it's your one thing and it's not going well, you are completely lost and you don't have even an escape or a release. So cultivate other skills. And this is for any aspiring, probably independent wrestler, is where we're inundated with, people trying to get booked with Exodus. And we have our core group. We're training people. And like, I'm very, very strict in my ways now. Where like, I don't need a good match out of two. You're an idiot. Go have a good match. Like, no, everything has to have a reason. Everything has to have a purpose, and everything has to lead to something, or then it's pointless in my views. So it's hard for me. Like, Brother Koa wants to get booked. He looks cool. I like what he says, but I don't know him yet. If you, as an independent performer, contractor, have another skill or asset that can help benefit the business you're trying to work for, I think your priority of bookings goes up. So if Koa's like, well, by the way, I'm also edits good videos. Hey man, I see how you edited this video. If you can maybe put a little of that process behind this chunk, go a long way. And then he did it. Well, shit, I reward loyalty for sure. You're in. So without anything else but this, though, you will suffer in the worst possible ways. But at the same time, when it's time to go all in, and you'll probably feel it, you have to just burn the boat, hypothetically.
A couple things that I wanted to branch off of with that. Number one, to put KO Vandu over real quick, he is a former NCAA tennis player.
Really?
He's got a master's degree, or he's getting a master's degree right now. And let me tell you, he's one of my great friends. Funny as hell.
There's a little ball of energy on top
He
of
is
it.
a ball of energy. So Gotta put him over real quick while he's coming up in the comments.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, keep talking about him. I gotta look something up. Go ahead.
Okay. What else do we know about KO Vandu? We have something that we discussed.
Mike Jones, he's a huge Mike Jones
fan, but he introduced me to the concept of who is Mike Jones. Rikishi Gear was my Halloween. That's hilarious.
Because he's weird.
Rikishi, but I think weird is a good thing. Was his Halloween costume in college? That's
Kyo.
not normal.
Kyo, answer. Have you ever seen 7 Days in Hell? Get back to me.
Well, Dante Casanova is here. He said he said KO Van Duel is also scared of Dante Casanova.
Dude,
They were
Dante's
having
up right now. Look out. He's got some carbs in him. He's coming in hot.
He just got off of the carnivore diet a couple weeks ago. I think we were just talking about that on the show. He was trying out the carnivore diet just to kind of see what it was all about. Got back on the carbs. Now he's feeling really energized again. Makes me feel less bad about eating carbs because I'm not the only one doing it. Dante Casanova has also been, to put him over, on a really hot streak. We've had him, I do ring announcing for promotion in Massachusetts called Rebel Spirit Pro Wrestling, in which Dante Casanova was just in and he's still in actually our roster reset tournament. He made it to the semifinal round, which we will be doing on May 22nd. And he's been all over the U.S. making a big impression. I'm still an idiot. No, KO Vander, he's working on his master's degree. He doesn't have his master's degree yet. So technically he is still an idiot, but he won't be in a couple of months.
I really need to know if he's seen 7 Days in Hell.
Answer the question, KO. Answer the question.
Did Dante tell you where he got all the carb advice from? Me.
Probably you. The other thing that I wanted to ask, we had talked a little bit before about Control Your Narrative. I know you had mentioned Control Your Narrative, and actually you had done a podcast back in 2021 where you were talking about Control Your Narrative for the first time, and something that you had said, I had actually chimed in as a guest on the podcast asking about this promotion. And even at that point in time, you were, people were throwing around the word promotion. You were like, I don't really feel like this is a promotion. Like, I don't feel like that's the appropriate word for what I'm doing. And obviously that concept has evolved over the years, in which now you're involved in NWA Exodus. And I know from talking with some of your guys, they've referenced CYN as like part of their training. So I kind of wanted to pick your brain and sort of ask about like how that idea, like where you started with Control Your Narrative and how that idea sort of evolved over time. Like, how do you look at it now? How do you view it now?
I can't look at it now because I'm jaded by some mistakes I probably made, but not even myself. Just some false feelings that came from the business end of the process, and maybe the lack of similar drive and pursuant. Where when I say you have to go all in on some things, like I did, and others claimed they would but wouldn't. So at the core of it, though, it was not supposed to be a promotion. When we talked about the pandemic and building things, I mean, at the time, you didn't know if wrestling was going to even exist. There was like going to be a market for content if people were just going to be sitting around and doing nothing. And at the same time, maybe, I mean, dude, it was basically Fight Club, but maybe there's a way that concept would work, whereas people are still competing because of the love for wrestling and competition without the ability to, they're doing it for themselves and they're not doing it for the TV contract or the money or the championships. So it's just an interesting concept to kind of put something different out there. And, one thing, there was all that jargon about cinematic matches, which short of the Boneyard one and the Hardy stuff, like those were fun anomalies, but like the idea of a cinematic match, like anything in wrestling, once it's done and done well, it becomes bootlegged, parodied, and an unoriginal version of what it should be. Where what if wrestling was shot cinematically, but it's still real wrestling, right? So like the concepts of wrestling are the same. The holds, like, it's not people are fucking magically appearing and there's pixie dust and, we're shooting firecrackers at each other. But the wrestling is shot from a more intimate and gritty level, focusing on facial features, focusing on story in a sense, and kind of in lieu of commentating, a narrator kind of speaking over what is taking place. So I don't know, probably when I die, I'll be like Van Gogh, and it's probably going to be heralded as unheard of, unseen genius and what happened. But as of now, like, it built what Exodus has become, and it cultivated a lot of things. So like Exodus is built on the back. There you go. Yeah.
Yo, right there.
Thank you, Noah. See,
He's coming through. He knows what's up.
yeah, the book one, all right? And then, sometimes you got to get cast out of heaven, thrown into the real world, and avoid Lucifer and his stupid little apple. And then, if humanity's plagued for a while, we're going to have our Exodus now. So, yeah, well said.
He said that he has seen 7 Days in Hell, 87 on Rotten Tomatoes.
If
To
you
be
can
exact.
You can get me a
87
character.
Rotten Tomatoes.
You can get me a character based on Andy Samberg in that. Let's talk.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
In that movie, right? John Cena had a bit part in it, and because I forgot who originally made it, real fast. Yeah, it was Sam. Like there was some HBO thing that everyone loved. I can't remember what it was, but I think it had Sandberg in it. But then I remember being at the gym with Cena and Rob, and we were all working out, and we were talking about it nonstop. The next thing you know, he got in. Love for that. Like agents started calling, like they found him a spot. I think he's like a jobber tennis player at one point, or was it the thing afterwards? I don't know, but we love that shit, and it was
that could also be a good full circle moment for K.O. Vandia with his tennis background.
That's what I'm talking.
See, it's all coming together.
It's all about. I have to say, I love things like that in wrestling in general. Little like full circle moments that maybe not even everybody would understand unless you're like really tuned into the little nuances of things. But something I wanted to circle back to really quickly that you had kind of mentioned, and that basically is him in real life.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to circle back to about control your narrative. You had mentioned the concept of like up and coming independent wrestlers and the focus on sort of like being signed. And that was something that I wanted to touch on really quickly because I feel like, I've spoken to a number of people, guys that I've worked with recently, some of whom have been signed to major companies before. And I think that there's so much focus on the up and coming talent, especially now with like the WWID program. There's so much focus on like doing X, Y, and Z so that I can get a contract. And I think a lot of people, I'm kind of realizing a lot of people forget like what happens when you get the contract. Like who are you going to portray? Like, are you going to be, most importantly, are you going to be happy? Are you going to be put in a position where you are happy? And you had mentioned something, I was doing a friendly stalk of your Instagram, and you had mentioned something in another clip where you talked about being in the right place at the right time, and also the circumstances of being in the right place at the wrong time, being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and et cetera. And I think that there's so much focus for some people just on being signed that sometimes people don't think about all of these other circumstances surrounding it. And I love that Control Your Narrative and now Exodus seems like it has somewhat of a focus on just like the creative aspect of building a character that is genuinely unique, as opposed to like, I need to do X, Y, and Z, so so-and-so will notice me. So is that something that you think can you speak to that a little bit more? Like, I know when you mentioned being in the right place at the right time, like, do you feel that that's where you're at now? And do you have some maybe previous experiences where maybe you felt like you were in the right place at the wrong time, or wrong place at the wrong time, that sort of led you to have the knowledge and to be where you're at right now?
Yeah, it's actually in the first part of the first tenet of the book is that parallel expanded upon. And I kind of talk about my first comparison is Franz Ferdinand in World War I being in the wrong place at the wrong time, because look what happened. That sucks. Second one being the wrong place at the right time, where I tell a personal story of where something happened. I was injured. I was coming back. I got a call to be an extra, but I couldn't work. But then I said no because, and before I could even finish like why I can't come, I was fucking like hung up on. I'm like, oh my God, I just ruined everything. I could have showed up there. and maybe half-assed it and gotten through, and maybe I would have gotten signed. And then I think my opportunity's lost forever. Later that night, I found out somebody that went in my place got signed, and it was like, now I'm really like, oh shit, I've ruined my entire life. But then I talk about the right place at the wrong time, and that was a CYN story about Bobby DDT, where everything fell into place for something to create him and capture him and what his best assets might be to a wide audience. But it was the wrong time because it didn't work out. And then the only time that's going to matter is being in the right place at the right time. And I think the important takeaway is you can't force it, and you'll never know when it's going to happen. And it's probably going to happen when you least expect it. I understand, like, why wouldn't you want to be signed? Because being paid money to do this for a living is the goal, right? And I don't know what people get signed doing anymore, but I do know what every person that has some sort of influence is looking for, and it's something that captures their attention right away. And, that it factor that sometimes can't be taught. It can be brought out, but it can't be taught. And so if we are training our people to lean into that more, whether it happens right away or whether it takes time, I feel they're in a better spot to get signed than they would be if they thought they had to, play by whatever proverbial rules might be. So, or fall into the concept like, hypothetically, a Gabe Sapolsky seminar is going to have 100 people, and you're going to have 20 seconds to maybe talk and 3 minutes of a match, and he's looking for 3 specific things where it's very, very short window to be noticed. And then I think majority are going to do what they think they need to do to be noticed, but very few are going to do what it takes to be noticed. And you look at a guy like Gabe, who's been in wrestling since ECW, and Ring of Honor, and WWE, and NXT, and Evolve, and PWG, and DGSW, whatever. Like, he's seen every possible thing a human body can do in a wrestling ring. He's probably seen it more than once. Where, how do you grab his attention? I don't know that secret sauce, but it's going to be something that's probably uniquely you. And it's not the way you did a Canadian Destroyer, or it's not the way you did a German suplex and no-sold it and stood up and banged your chest in a 3-minute exhibition in front of 100 people. So I think that puts them in a better position. Sometimes too, though, it's just, you don't know what they're looking for and when. There's oftentimes, like, I don't know, when I was coming up and before I got signed, I saw people getting like, that fucking guy, him? Wait, what? Like, I'm in better shape. I'm a better worker. I'm a better promo. I'm way better shape. But it wasn't until the right place and the right time came up that it happened for me. It's, if you follow what you excel at, which is being yourself, I think you're in a better position, but absolutely no guarantees. Exodus has done a good job of getting, some young lifeblood into the NWA. I mean, we started with Carson Drake and Tiffany Nieves, the Slime Balls. I mean, recently PB Smooth has taken on. Pastor CeeLo came to the last taping. Dante's there. He should be fucking signed. I'm not going to lie to you. There's multiple people we put in that position. So, and part of I have an issue with the fact that it's not blatantly seen how much more prepared our guys are than anybody else. But then maybe it's at my fault where I have to do even better to make sure it's known.
Yeah, there's so much talent there. You named Tiffany Nieves, Dante Casanova. I remember the first time I interviewed Dante Casanova at a show, somebody from CCW brought me over and was like, this is like 3 years ago. They're like, you need to interview this guy. Like, this guy's going to be a superstar one day. And I was kind of new into the game, and we did an interview, and he's just doing amazing things. Blake Banks is, again, killing it out there. Like, he was another guy that was at the seminar down there in CCW. And the stuff with him and Tiffany Nieves is like absolute gold. Literally, he's money, he's gold, all that good stuff going on there.
And it sucks because, like we have a limited amount of visibility now. Like, we do decent when we put it on YouTube, but our content machine isn't figured out and churning it out. But, like, Blake and Tiffany is money. And how many times do we need to see it before you can realize that? Or how do I need to platform this so everybody can't deny it? So that's an issue that I struggle with and trying to figure out. But like, you see it and that's cool, but you're diehard, you're in the mix. Sometimes when you're appeasing people in charge, there's multiple aspects of business and life and personal they have to focus on, where they see something and they go, that's good, but then something else came up and they totally forgot it happened. So it's almost too, you got to be pounding them consistently with it. Blake came to that seminar, TFK. Blake came to that seminar, and like, he's coming up from Florida to do that bit because he understands that it can lead to something, and it's like, it's very good and it should be somewhere, but there's no guarantees that it will be, short of what we're doing with it. And that hurts me because I know how good it can be and I know how much they're investing in themselves to make that so, but we can only do what we can. And so there's a lot of right places at the wrong times, and it seems like there's a couple wrong places at the right times. I just got to prepare everyone to be ready when it's the right place at the right time.
Yeah, Jerry Baum says that TFK, he is the whole package. KO says that he created Dante Casanova. Just FYI, EC3.
I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one.
Out here politicking for a title match after you
We could probably get that arranged somewhere.
Yeah.
One thing that I wanted to add as well, when we're talking about right place, right time, one place that I know is going to be the right place and the right time is on March 15th. I just saw some of the match graphics earlier today, advertising where you are going to be going one-on-one with Richard Holiday. And I also saw the match graphic for Dante Casanova versus Anthony Green, who is someone else who I've also had the pleasure of working with over in New England. And I think that he is going to be making his Exodus debut, if I'm not.
Tell me about him. So, I've been dealing with on a business end. We don't have a personal relationship yet. He comes highly recommended, very well.
Yes. So we actually had Anthony Green on this show as well.
About 2 months ago, yeah.
Late December, we did an interview with him, and he has a really unique background. He was he was started out at a very young age as an independent referee, who then transitioned into becoming a wrestler. He was signed to NXT, I think he said for about 10 months around 2021, and then when he left NXT, that was when he was able to set up the gig that he has currently with Pro Wrestling Noah, where he's traveled back and forth to Japan multiple times. He's been on multiple tours. I think he's actually on one right now, coming back before March 15th. But he is also, he's a very interesting and very creative mind, because before he started with NXT, his previous gimmick, he was for a while the retrosexual Anthony Green, where he was rocking the mustache. That was kind of like his signature thing. Like if you saw him, he always had kind of like that, one of those mustaches that's not really like, it's not like an authentic mustache. It's like kind of like a performative mustache. That's not like by choice. It was kind of one of those mustaches. Now he's changed it up a little bit. So when he left NXT, he felt that he wanted to do something different. He was going to Japan. He was kind of turning over a new leaf over there. And so that was when he came up with his current character. He didn't want to be retro agey. He didn't want to go backwards. So he had to find an alternative. So he became the alternative, Anthony Green.
That's a sales pitch right there, Joey.
Yeah. So Anthony Green, I hope you're watching this.
Yeah, because he owes you some compensation right now.
Yeah. But he's a very, I have to put him over as, again, a very creative mind, because in the times that I've been able to work with him, I notice he's the type of guy where backstage he's thinking of little things, little nuances to certain things that he does that add a layer of authenticity to it that not necessarily every guy who's just training would think of. For example, he was, I don't want to peel back the curtain too much, but he was on one of our Rebel Spirit pro wrestling shows back in January. He was booked for a match against the 99 overall Miles Hawkins, who is based in the DC area. He is another one to definitely keep your eyes out for. I think you would be very interested in him as well. But they were supposed to have a match. AG was not at the building for call time. He was not present backstage. I interviewed Miles backstage. We didn't know where AG was. And so AG's, when he does come out to the ring, it becomes a triple threat match. Now that someone else has stepped in his spot, he shows up, he comes out to the ring. He's still putting on his wrist tape as he's walking to the ring. Like he's still getting ready. He's like, oh, like, you know, I just got here. I'm just, you know, just putting myself together. So the fans are like, this guy is like, he's getting ready for his match as he's walking to the ring, putting on his wrist tape. So it's, you know, the little things. He gets the little things.
You ever seen Vanilla Sky?
I've seen it once when it first came out with Tom Cruise. Yeah,
I love it. But quote from that is, "The little things. There's nothing bigger." That's all.
That's all.
It makes sense though. So no, that's cool to hear. Yeah, like he came highly, you know, recommended, and if we could become that platform to, you know, take those guys even up another level or get them in front of new audiences, like, and you know what, like the 10 months in NXT probably did him a great service. We all get fired, trust me. Where he learned a lot through the process, and he saw kind of, when you see how the sausage is made too, you can better tolerate it when that time comes again, even if it sucks worse. But yeah, very, very intrigued by it. So we'll see.
And you have your match with Richard Holiday, which brings me to ask, are you going to give him his flowers?
Well, it is a final flowers match. So
so what does that entail?
it's gonna be a casket match. I'm just calling it something different.
Okay.
Gotta build it up. Yeah. Because, it's gonna be so it's a casket match, but you have to put the person in the casket and then drop the flowers. So
like a mic drop almost, and just the flowers on top. Like,
so how do you take something that's been done ad nauseum and make it slightly different? There you go.
There you go.
Could have been that or the Ultimate Match of Death 2, but I'm saving that for Joe Kazana.
Oh, Joe. Okay.
Oh, that I would definitely like to see. And actually, Tony, I hope you don't mind me jumping in with another question.
No,
but
go
just
for it.
popped in my brain, something that I always ask our guests when they're on our show, and I think this would be really interesting for you because, like you've said, you've wrestled for pretty much you've wrestled for how many years now with every major company, where there's probably not a lot of people that you haven't gotten to step toe to toe with yet. But is there anybody maybe newer on the independent scene that you haven't gotten to step toe to toe with yet, who's caught your attention, that maybe you'd like to use this opportunity to call out?
Yeah, John Cena or Randy Orton on the Indies? No.
And anybody that you want to wrestle, anybody that you want to call out.
I mean, those would be guys that I admire greatly and would love to beat the shit out of. But up and coming and new, I'm sort of disconnected from the scene, short of what Noah gives me on silver platters. So, and that's not to be a discredit to anybody, but sometimes I feel if I'm too inundated with it, like we were talking about earlier, when you go all in, if you don't have something else, I've been all in for so long that kind of finding something else is required to keep me strong doing what this is. And even if I'm not doing, like, watching the scene, I'm involved in it and creating for it. So, I mean, I never new. Throw a name at me. Who?
TFK. Have you wrestled the Trust Fund Kid?
I don't think so.
Yeah, see, there
I
we
already
go.
have one of those. His name's Carson Drake because he stole everything from EC3, which is
Oh.
actually quite a good path to career success, apparently.
Hmm.
Oh, there's a couple people I would love to watch you wrestle. Someone that actually pops into my mind who is with the NWA, and I think there would have to be like the right story for the two of you guys. I would love to see you. You would probably need to be the baby face. You and Spencer Slade.
Oh, Slate, you know what? That is a great thing. Good. Yes. That is a good pick. But then I was kind of thinking, like, too, what was the guy here?
There you go. Dante wants his match.
Well,
I also think that would be a great match.
That should happen.
yeah, you just can't win. Slade would be good. But
Well, because you guys are both big body guys too, but then I'm just kind of like, you need the right
like that,
creative.
like he's certainly a talent I'd love to have in Exodus. It's just about making sure it's the right thing. It'd be very easy to bring him in and just throw him in the mix, but at the same time, what I think lacks in TV wrestling, even though they have all the assets and nobody does it right, is introducing and building people to make them stars before you think they are, because they're not. Nobody, like Spencer Slade is a star. The way he looks, the way he works, the way he's overcome, for sure, but he's not yet by perception of people that have watched. And so within the NWA, he's been in a tag team, he's been in like some bits and some things like that, but he's never had his moment and his build. And hopefully that comes, or hopefully we can deliver it at Exodus. And that's what I'd want to do, to bring him in. So when these guys are like, God, look, I want to work. I'm like, I know you do, but I don't want to waste you for nothing. Right. I'm way more patient about people's careers than they are, so I totally understand it. But at the same time, Dante, Slade, I mean, the guys we have, like Drake, actually,
he's another one that I've seen popping up in Exodus as well. That
he had Rex Brody earlier before that.
Brandon Brutta, another, I mean, guy I had the talk with, and then it panned out. But like, dude, I'm EC3, all right? So, you know, when Rorschach is locked into prison, and he's surrounded by all these people, he's like, I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. So any of these young fuckboys want to come at the king, take your shot, but you better not miss.
Have you, and forgive me if I'm misremembering, have you had a one-on-one with Matt Riddle?
Shit. No, that'd be cool.
I was thinking, I was like, that would be kind of cool. I also think like just both of your personalities, like you both have such big personalities, but in different ways. I feel like the juxtaposition of, because I wasn't sure, I figured you guys must have crossed paths through NXT, but I couldn't remember if you had ever done a program together.
No, that would be cool. He's not canceled, is he?
No, he's still out there doing his thing.
I just don't know who's canceling. Okay.
He's great. He's great.
Yeah.
I've worked with him a couple of times. He's a super, super sweet guy.
You're only canceled if you let yourself get canceled.
Oh, I like that. That
would be cool.
EC3, one of the main things I really took away from that seminar, and it's something I've been practicing, or, you know, make sure that I stay on this track, was you mentioned about, you know, quality over quantity and working, you know, getting out there and working, but working for like the right people and not letting yourself work with the wrong type of people out there. How in forgive me, I don't remember, you had like an assistant there that night as well too, and they mentioned particular, you know, maybe places you don't want to work. And how important is that you guys keep your eyes on the guys, the wrestlers that you're bringing into your company, to make sure that maybe they're not being involved with the wrong types of people in the professional wrestling business?
Well, unlike most of the naive, insane, cutthroat, but poor business people that are independent promoters, I will never tell anyone to not work anywhere. If we're not running and you want to work, go for it. What I encourage people to do, though, is to know where they're going to get a quality rep, or they're going to take a step back and risk themselves, whether it's their brand or an injury. So I want, like, a lot of indie people, like, they try to get on every possible show, which I get, to get reps. But once you reach kind of a level, especially when they were training with us and working with us, we're doing things differently. And what you need to do probably to make it further, that if they go without taking the tools and the knowledge they have to bring it out of somebody else, if they go down and then go to the same or lower level than they're at, they're not going to hurt themselves, but they're not going to get better. And then it becomes an issue of, where are you at monetarily? Are you coming at, like, did you make a round trip 8 hours back and forth for, basically gas and food, where when the time comes and you do need to go all in and burn the boats, where you're going to need to, well, I have $500 saved so I can hop on an international flight and do 12 shows in Europe. Like, that's a better investment. So don't take that booking, go work a job or do something that brings money and value that you can put in the candy jar and bust out when the real opportunity might come. So not all reps are going to be good reps. I wouldn't know who's good or bad to work, but if they're on the scene, they probably have an idea what I'm talking about. Gotcha. And like, dude, like, I don't hate the idea. You want to go test your wares and your newfound knowledge and take, shitty McGee up a level. Like you want to go. When we train, sometimes it's like how to have a match with no bumps. You want to go practice that. How to have a match with no strikes. How to have a match without using the ropes, and like challenge yourself to like have a different kind of match. Then I'm all for it, because you've gotten better and you've increased your skills to where when the time comes and some point you're in a high level and something happens where the ropes ripped and you're like, oh shit, well, I already know what to do because I worked shitty McGee in Tuscaloosa for $40. But in that match, I remember we did this, and then muscle memory.
Okay. There is a fan question in here. A&B Review says, is there any chance that we would see a reunion with Rockstar, Spud, EC3, Dixie in TNA?
I don't know about TNA, but I wouldn't be remiss to see if the three of us come together at some point. It might just be a picture on Instagram. But
I was gonna ask, jumping off of that, do you and like your Aunt Dixie, do you guys like celebrate Thanksgiving together? Like, do you get together for Christmas?
Yeah, all the time.
All of them?
Yeah, geez, I practically live in her basement. That's we stay in touch. I will say that much.
Okay.
Cordially and familiar, whatever.
One of the questions I like to end with EC3 is, the world of professional wrestling, as I like to say, is a bizarro world. And you certainly have seen plenty of things. If there's a bizarro moment that really stands out to you, a WTF, like, what the fuck just happened moment for you, what comes to mind?
Yeah. It's cool. All right, I'm at Billy Corgan's 50th birthday party, right? Okay, hanging out. Marilyn Manson's over there. Sasha Gray's over there. I'm fucking banging around with the weirdest of the weird, but like, high-end real-life celebrities, and it's cool. Aaron Stevens is there. He's just being weird. So I have my date, and I go, would you look at that over by the bar? There's a Fraggle Rock museum. Gotta check it out. Walk over, here's the Fraggle Rock Museum, and I'm looking at it, laughing. And then I hear from a voice from the bar, and it's like, hey, are you EC3? And I look over, and there's this not disheveled, but just kind of like, I don't want to say a bum, but underdressed, unkempt beard, kind of anomaly. Everybody's dressed up. He's got flip-flops and khaki shorts on. And I go, yeah, I am. And so we start talking. And he starts telling me shit about what I do in TNA that, like, I didn't think anybody would realize, like, character analysis, depth, Easter eggs. Like, I remember this one time when you said this, but like the way you implied it was because you're hulking back to that. I'm like, fuck, yeah, dude, how'd you know that? And like this real, just like genius, creative level thinker is like telling me about how cool I am. And this isn't WWE. This is, TNA. So you really got to be a wrestling fan if you're watching that shit. And then I'm like, it's like, oh, well, I have to go now. And I go, okay, well, it's very nice to meet you. And shake his hand. And I'm like, what a great, wonderful conversation I had. And Aaron Steven comes over and he goes, you know who that is? And I went, yeah, it's Rick. He goes, that's Rick Rubin. And I went, holy shit, because if you don't know who Rick Rubin is, I never knew his face, but I knew he was the, founder of Def Jam Records. He's worked with every major musical act. He's this insanely creative, like outside the box thinker. If anybody's into creativity, I strongly urge you to read his book, The Act of Creative, because it heavily influences in my deal. But this guy who's worked like Kanye and Anthony Kiedis, and like Anthony Kiedis read him a poem. Rick Rubin read him a poem, and he goes, "That's your hit." And he goes, "Really?" He's like, "Let's go right now." They go to the studio, and that's when Red Hot Chili Peppers came out with "Under the Bridge." So that's the kind of level of this fucking guy, mega cool, where I'm like, Bizarro World, like. This guy's working with Elton John and Queen, and he knows my shit. That's insane. So apparently he's a diehard wrestling fan, and he uses it to relax because it's something he can just chill and watch. So that was cool. That's Bizarro.
That is. It's his escape from the other world.
Yeah, that might be like the best Bizarro story we've ever heard on this show.
Yeah, because I usually get shoelaces untied and something crazy, but yeah, that's just like
it's either that or I signed a wooden leg. I mean, I don't know. That one's better.
No, I like the first one better. Yeah. Well, I don't know, Julie, if you have any more questions for EC3 as we're approaching the hour and a half mark, and I want to be respectful of your time. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I probably have a million different rabbit holes I could go down. We are at about an hour and a half right now, so I will spare you the rabbit holes, but maybe sidebar at some point. Something that we do always ask about to finish off the show is we like to ask about things you have coming up. Obviously, we talked a little bit about March 15th, the Final Flowers match with Richard Holiday. Is there anything else that
Nothing I care about.
We've talked about the book. We've talked about the book that is in the works. I don't know if you have anything more specific that you can share about that yet, or if it's still somewhat under wraps.
Yeah. Like I said before we jumped on, I hate people that are like, big things coming. And
right.
Because like after 2 weeks, I'm already like, what am I doing? Like I'm not talking to people. I'm sheltered, secluded, trying to like churn like
I guess one more question that I have, because you've talked about being kind of like a recluse. What other kinds of things do you do? Like obviously wrestling, creative writing, working out. What else
makes EC3 tick, right?
Makes even Carter the Third tick.
Oh.
What else makes him tick?
Like weird adventures. One thing when I was so dedicated to making it or thinking I had to do all these things, like going all in, lost out on a lot of aspects of life where relaxing or fun or allowing myself to enjoy things because I'm too busy. Like you're in Florida, you're moving there, you have a live-in girlfriend, and every day of your life you think you're getting fired because WWE is insane, where it's like you can't unwind ever, and it's years and years of that shit. Where I'm up for any wacky, weird interaction and adventure now, and I like to go to movies alone, like Don Draper, because I'm a real Don Draper-like person. So, with the cigarettes and everything.
One final question, because you mentioned movies. you have a couple movies that you could reference as like all-time favorites or types of movies that you lean into?
Like everything new kind of sucks, right? So
Yeah.
For sure.
out there, I'm trying to watch a movie with mom the other day, and I'm like, this looks all shitty. And it seems like, again, content creation, quality, like quantity has superseded it. Where shit, Ryan Reynolds is in this movie, and it's like, I don't know, you can tell when something's like green screen. It kind of you can tell by the performance. Who's the guy that played Creed's kid? Michael Johnson, right? There was some movie I was watching with him where it was just like, dude is mailing it in. Like, he's not even trying. And it's sad. So, I mean, short of Nolan, anything Nolan, and, you know, Braveheart, Gladiator, mention those. There Will Be Blood would really get your mind thinking. Anything Daniel Day-Lewis is good. I was just watching The Revenant last night. So anything Dennis, I don't know how to say his last name, Villanova, Dune, Arrival. Holy shit, you want your heart ripped out?
Ooh, that one I haven't seen.
Oh, the most paradoxical question you can ask yourself is in that movie. Okay. So I want you to watch it. Like, and it's like about life, love. I thought this movie was about aliens. No, man. No. Shit.
I have to ask because for some reason I see this for you and I just need like a confirmation as to whether I'm on the right track or not. I feel like I could see you being the type of guy, and I like these kinds of movies too, where it's like you think the plot is going in one direction and then it kind of does an unexpected 180 and it ends up going in a different direction than you initially thought. Almost like a Gone Girl or like a Memento.
Mm-hmm.
Are you that kind of guy?
I wish I could layer storytelling like that, and I think I should start trying to apply it. But I do enjoy those. So referencing Vanilla Sky, that was like the original, wait, what? Movie?
Yeah.
But then I didn't see it till later in life, so the ending didn't shock me. It was like the same thing. Like the first time I saw Fight Club, I'm like, mind is blown. But then, you know, falling back into that kind of formula, you can almost see it coming unless somebody's doing it very well. But
yes,
I just like the act of creative entertainment, perhaps. It's actually, I don't know, creative, because nothing is. We Were Soldiers. Oh, that movie's great. Mel Gibson again in the book, so check that out. Nothing made before 2016.
2016 was a great movie year, and then I feel like it did kind of go downhill after that. That was a great year for the Oscars, from what I remember.
I don't, but I'm going to look into it.
With La La Land, that was a big one.
I just watched that. Oh,
that movie just absolutely destroyed me. La La Land, another one. I think Moonlight was like the picture of the year. That was when they had like the little snafu where they awarded the wrong person picture of the year, and then they realized it like mid-speech and had to reroute. That was that year.
That was the plot twist. You know, you thought it was going one way and it went the other way. Yeah.
Not funny movie. Not. Oh my God. Is it a sad ending or is it a happy? Too. Like you can kind of argue both. Obviously, you grew to love the characters and wanted to see where they would go, but they went a different route. But they still seemed happy.
That movie, I will say, I went to see it in theaters, and I was crying at the end of the movie. The lights came on, and I was still crying. I think I went to go see it at the time with my mom and my sister-in-law. We were in the car home. We all rode together. I was still crying. And then I think I cried myself to sleep that night. At first, that movie just struck a chord with me.
Me too. Fucking the weirdest way possible. All right.
Way possible. But anywho.
Julie, what other cool stuff do you have coming up? I know you have a show that you're doing some ring announcing for, I believe.
Yes,
right?
I did mention the next Rebel Spirit Pro Wrestling show, which I'm going to be. There we are. I'm going to be ring announcing. That is our first ever super show. So this is going to have like a stacked card from top to bottom. As you can see, we have Dijak returning, Dora Joel, Dante Casanova is going to be there. Ashley Vox making her debut, which has been highly talked about. And so that is going to be March 22nd. I have a couple other things coming up that I'm going to be sharing in the near future. I don't want to be that big news coming kind of a gal, but I will have something on social media very soon, in the imminent future, that I will be sharing. And you can follow me on social media at The Crown Jewels. Crown is with an E at the end. It's the Old English spelling. That's just how we roll here. And Tony, I know we're about to wrap up. I just wanted to say as well, EC3, thank you so much for your time and for chatting with us today. I was looking forward to this all week long. And I just love your creative perspective and hearing all the wisdom, all the nuggets that you have for all of the people in the world of independent wrestling. And I know that it's very appreciated by a lot of my peers as well.
If I can say just one thing to that, though, is the only thing I know is I don't know shit. So all just guesswork. But yeah, it was an honor. Very good conversation. I enjoy. Yeah, what do I like to do? I like to have connections and interactions with new people and nice people that we have a mutual bond, but it's not based. Our conversation grows outside of it. So this is cool. I thank you. And I think you'll be good allies to have in the internet warfare game when my propaganda takes full form.
Absolutely. We got your back.
I'm all about the internet warfare game.
All right.
Yes. And as for us here on Toned In Entertainment, please check out my Instagram and Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling for my interview that dropped, my backstage interview with One in a Billion Satnam Singh that dropped today. Tomorrow on Toned In Entertainment, a new interview with your hero, Eric Academia. And this Friday, I will be back at Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling doing some more backstage interviews as well. Julie, thank you for joining me, co-hosting once again. It's always a pleasure. And EC3, I know you're a very busy guy. So again, thank you very much. Well, we're all busy in our own ways, and you could be doing other things. But we do thank you for jumping on Toned In Entertainment tonight, EC3.
Thank you.
All right, guys, if you haven't already, hit that red subscribe button so you can stay tuned in here to Toned In Entertainment for future videos.
Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.